All right, now the fun finally begins. Believe it or not, we're going to start framing the walls. First step, we need to put the plates together and mark out where the studs are going to go.
All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 8-penny nails, and these are duplex because what we'll be doing is we'll be pulling these out or bending them over later. These are just temporary nails we're putting in. And the key is to get the ends of the two 2x4s absolutely flush, okay? Right next to each other, nice and smooth, right on the edge, and then we put in a nail. And we use an 8-penny nail because an 8-penny nail will go through the top board, into the second board, but it won't go into the floor. Then since this is a long plate, I'll go to the middle. I'll get the edges nice and smooth, flush. Put in one more nail, slide this guy down a little bit. And a last nail. See, I know this wall is going to go on the long side here, and I know roughly how long it's going to be. So I want to put my nail in a place where it won't get in the way of me cutting this plate off. So a couple feet from the end, nice and flush. I have to mark 3.5 inches because this wall is going to continue through to the edge here. So my 3.5 inch mark is going to be on this line. So get my square out. That's my first mark. So I'll carry that line down. All right. Now we can get going here. Now my 3.5 inches is right on that line. Let's get this straightened away here. I want my plate to be straight on this line. Come back and check this. All right. You can see right here that I'm on my line here. The plates are on their edge, and I'm right on this line. So this is my 3.5 inches that I will have for this wall. I'm going to march down here and make a mark right on my line. I can take my square, and I can put it right on my line as well. Finish that line up. And then what we do is we measure 3.5 inches. I'm going to cut 1 inch so I get it right on the money. So I mark 4.5 right there. I'm marking 4.5 because I cut 1 inch. In other words, sometimes what you do is instead of using the end of your tape, you'll move the mark over to 1 inch because it's a finer line, and that gives you a finer measurement. Then you add 1 inch to your measurement, and so I went 4.5 inches. It really is 3.5 inches because I cut 1 inch. That's what they call it. I will mark the top of my plate and the end of my plate, and then what I do is I take my square and I roll the plate and I square all the way around the plate so I have a line all the way around my plate. Now the key here is to get as smooth as of an edge on your plate as possible. Then I roll my plate back into place. Get it right where I want it. And now it's time for layout. Now I'm going to lay out this plate first. I know it's as long as I want it. I know it's marked on the lines. I know it's just where I want it. So first thing I'll do is I'll get my plan. I'll figure out where my windows and doors or walls or anything that hits this wall, I want to make sure that I put it on this plate. Once I've done that, I mark this plate, say number 1, and I mark underneath the floor on like number 1. Then I take my plate and I put it somewhere else. And I march over to my next plate and I do the same thing. Next plate, do the same thing. Next plate, I do the same thing. In this case, I'll have 4 plates, 1 through 4. And then I'll just bring them back over, I'll split them apart, and we'll build the wall per the description that I've put on the plates. And we do this because any mark that I make on this piece and on this piece, since smooth on that end and smooth on that end, flush on both ends, when I pull this apart, this mark here and this mark here will be in the same place on the top of the wall and on the bottom of the wall. That's why we start out with the plates on the bottom, and whatever we do to the plates, marking wise, for studs, for cripples, for king studs, for anything like that, we're going to have all those line up. And this is how you make sure that your house stays square and your studs stay nice and plumb and your windows are nice and plumb. It's because you do it on the early stage when you're building the wall with the plates. You may wonder why I'm carrying around something that looks like a spray paint can in my pocket. If you're doing work on a slab or on concrete and you snap lines, one way to make sure that they're there after a rainstorm or even after dew hits the next day, if you haven't covered your plywood, what this is just a clear lacquer. And it's just a good practice to spray your lines with a clear lacquer. If you spray them, then the next day when you come out there and the whole area is nice and moist from dew, the dew won't penetrate the lacquer and your lines will stay good for as long as you need them. And then I always turn the can upside down and spray it. It cleans the nozzle. Okay, we're down to our last plate here. So we've nailed it up. I'm just going to put the last nail in here. Move these plates out of the way. Now that we've done one of the full-length plates here, I'm saving this one here for to show you how to do the one that goes in between. You'll see, like we did over here, it's between the 2 plates. We'll do the same. In this case, we don't have to do the 3.5 inches because we're not going to the end. We're going in between, so it's just line to line. So you just line the end up to one line, go over, mark the other line, and cut the plates. Then what we'll do is we will lay them out and split them apart and build some walls. Right on the line on that side, and make our mark, and we square around the end of the plate just like we did before. So we can cut it. All right, we'll cut this one and then we'll be done with the plates.
home improvement camp. Have at it.